Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net's Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast. And or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey. Sup.
All it was missing was a little head nod.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, I did it. Anyone listening doesn't know, you had to peel the curtain back.
I did. I'm sorry.
Ruined it.
So, how are you guys doing? Who wants to go first and start us off?
I guess I will, because why not? Yeah, I've done not much, because, well, first of all, that's what we're supposed to do. And also, I was telling Tony on Salty Language that this is a fun, and by fun, I'm not being serious, time for, like we talked on last episode, anyone with an anxiety issue or phobia. And my phobia is not directly related to the coronavirus, but I already don't want to leave the house because my brain says everything out there is evil and trying to kill me. And now the news is confirming it. So
yeah,
it's not necessarily good for my mental health. Because now it's hard to push through to go do anything because I'm paranoid. And part of it is not just me, but it's because, I live with two people in their 70s. I'm very concerned, I'm terrified, that I'd bring something to one of them. And also, living in your house where basically people watch the news a lot, there's paranoia and there's worry, and I already do that enough to myself, so now we got this on top of it, and I'm trying my best to do the, what is it called? What's important now move, where basically you assess your situation and go, am I in immediate danger? And realistically, if you're listening to what's staying home, staying out of crowds, blah, blah, you're probably not, in immediate danger. I mean, but yeah, we kind of all are at the moment. So it's a weird place to be, because for the first time in all these years of my phobia, like, my brain's actually telling me the truth, like, stay home. So it's a little weird, because we're going to need things, and I'm the one who's going to be the one to go get them, so I do have to overcome this stuff. And we've discussed at length on here before about my anxiety and stores. So luckily, our local grocery store allows for pickup. So I'll be doing that. But there's also a good chance that I'll probably still go into the store because I'm resourceful, right? So, like, I know different ways of cooking things. I know different things that can be used to make other things. And just because the store may be out of one thing doesn't mean that I can't make something else that as a substitute or what have you, right? So, like, I've seen pictures online where the stores have no bread, but they have tons of tortillas. Like, even just that, it's like, so I may want to go in and see if there's stuff like that I can still get and use for things, So the hardest part about that is I really want someone to go with me, but I also, in these, like, as things are right now, I really don't want to ask anyone to go in with me because it feels incredibly selfish, So, if I go in, I'll probably make sure I have, my headphones, and maybe I'll just, either play a podcast, or maybe I'll pull up my meditation app and just play some soothing music or something while I'm dealing with anything. Cause it depends too. I've heard from some people that live in our area that like my brother said he went to a store yesterday and he said it was a little busy. He said it wasn't that bad. So, there's things like that. I think a lot of it too is that I think I'm worried that I'm going to walk into some crazy nightmare of a madhouse and all that. And it's like, really, if that's the case, I just turn around and walk out, like, it's not worth it at that point. But I think, again, that's where my agoraphobia kicks in there, because that's my brain coming up with any excuse to try to keep me from going anywhere or doing something, So I know it last week, but after another week of this, we're definitely being told stay home, and things are closing in our area, like most areas, restaurants are carry out or pick up only. And, a lot of stores have shortened their hours and all this kind of stuff. And the other real quick side is that I'm an introvert because of the agoraphobia, like, I'm fine socializing with people, but I'm also the type that I don't necessarily miss it. Generally, I need, occasional socializing, but I don't need it every day. I don't need a lot of it. A little goes a long way with me. And but I was telling my brother today, I said, I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, I kind of want to get out of the house for a little bit. I kind of want some interaction, like, I missed that when we, just, a week or two, when we were basically like, oh, let's just head over to GameStop and we talk with the manager there for a little while, or the guys that work there. It's kind of weird like that. And, I'm using Twitter and stuff like that. It's not the same, but it's, essentially what it is it's going to have to be normal for a while, so yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much been my week, is, trying to help everyone in the household stay calm, washing my hands until they bleed, and trying to really, like, amp up my internal fight. It's like I have therapy scheduled for next week, but I don't know, should I or shouldn't I go? Because I kind of need it right now, but also it's at a medical facility. And I kind of don't want to go near that place. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call and talk to my therapist and kind of see what she says, or see if there's an opportunity for me to get maybe to where like I could do it like this via Skype or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the phone even, you know, whatever. So there you go. That's pretty much been my week.
Nice. Well, I'm not too far different than where you're at, actually. I ended up, I think I mentioned it last week, but I am working from home this week. My office is closed, well, for the most part. Non-essential personnel and anyone who can work from home is highly encouraged to do so. So, sent me home with a laptop and a pat on the back and said, go have fun. So,
and you're like, please don't touch me.
So it's been interesting. I got things set up pretty well here, so it's not too intrusive. The toughest part for me is the not leaving my house, because there's really no reason for me to leave the house, because I get all my groceries, I got gas, I got everything I could need, and there's nothing really open. So I walked outside, let the dogs out, and hung out with the dogs, but other than that, for the last 2-3 days, trying to think the last time I was out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Monday. I was out on Monday.
Okay.
So the last 2 days I haven't left the house. And it's just really weird. I don't know. I'm still working through whether it's kind of a good thing, because I don't have the outside stressors of dealing with people in social interactions and stuff, which caused me some anxiety and some strain. So that's the good part. But on the bad part is I do miss social interactions, and I miss talking with people, which it's just such an odd dichotomy.
Yeah, it's so weird. We're in a place to where the extroverts are really suffering right now. You know, like people like me, for the most part, like I was telling my mom and Jim, I was like, you know, for us, it's almost business as usual. We don't really go out a whole lot. The three of us, you know, none of us really go out and do a lot. So it's like, for us, it's pretty much just keep on keeping on, you know, except for, you know, you feel that weight on you a little bit of like the fear and just the uncertainty, you know, if nothing else. Yeah.
So I mean, I've been doing that, you know, and I've been doing my social media, which is, as we've talked about before, a larger part of my life. So I've been doing some social media stuff, which has helped take the edge off of the social interaction needs. But yeah, just even the dogs don't quite know how to act, because it's a change in their routine. Like, they're even kind of all mixed up about everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny to kind of even see them going through not really understanding, but it's cool because mom's home, but why is mom home? And
like, great.
Now I hang out with mom or do I hang out with dad? I don't know what to do. And
great. Now we can't just put on Animal Planet and party all day. Yeah.
Exactly. I put a crimp in their plans.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I had my first video Skype today with my workmates, and it was funny seeing them in their comfy casual.
Yeah.
As we'll call it. You know, we were all kind of in our casual gear, and, you know, the makeup isn't as tight, the hair isn't done, that type of thing.
Right.
So it was really funny to see the lines are blurring. And I think that's maybe the biggest thing that I'm really working with right now is I have very distinct lines between work and home.
Right.
and those lines are getting very blurred.
Yeah, I bet.
So, granted, it's just a video conference, and they weren't really in my home, but they were kind of in my home, and it's weird kind of bringing that bridge, between work and home. It's just odd.
Yeah.
And I think that's overall my feelings for the entire week. And I keep going back to the same words. It's like, it's interesting, it's weird, and it's odd. It just feels odd.
It is. And like I was saying, it's like, we're all going to just have to get to that point that it is the new normal for a while, again, I'm not a doctor expert, blah, 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 but all the things I've read and heard, it sounds like this is going to be kind of how it's going to be for a good bit. So, we all, like you were saying, it's like we all have to find our comfort within that. And like I said, that's where I'm struggling, is I'm trying to figure out the balance for my brain over what to listen to and what not to listen to. So I get it that it's strange. And you definitely have more of an extrovert personality than I do.
I do. And that's I'm an extroverted introvert, which is really a weird combo, but what isn't weird about me, honestly. but yeah, I am definitely a blend between an extrovert and an introvert. But so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that kind of sums up my week right there. Is I just don't know.
Well, I think that's pretty, like I said, that's kind of across the board. It seems like that's pretty much where everybody's at. So at least there is that, right? Like we all know we're not alone in this. We're all going through this. This isn't even, this is something that literally can affect pretty much any one of us. So we all are dealing with uncertainty and fear and just weirdness across the board. So, it's, at least there's that. And that's where social media and stuff can be nice, is we can all kind of come together and talk about it, and maybe find some comfort and solace with each other that way. Really quick before Heno jumps in, I forgot one thing I wanted to mention, my win for the week. And this is going to sound a little weird that I'm calling it a win, even though I'm washing my hands like a maniac because, just doing it anyway. I always wash my hands probably more than most people anyway, because I've always had, and Jen can confirm this, I've always had like some germophobic tendencies. There's certain things that really kind of bug me out. And right now though, like I'm washing hands more again, because I'm just trying to be, better about it and safer about it. But I'm not going crazy. Like I'm not wiping off every little thing and doing, like I'm not like obsessing on the, on cleaning different stuff. Like, we're wiping stuff down, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not going, my brother was here. I didn't immediately run outside and wipe like the door down with sanitizers and stuff, even though maybe I should have. I don't know what level of paranoia is correct right now. We don't really know. So, but I think that it's a win for me that I'm not just like huddled up under my desk basically about the germs. Because I do have moments where things really freak me out. And I'm not going to lie. It's weird because I'm that way, but I've always been very much the type. I'll just go to the grocery store and just blindly grab a cart. I never wipe them down, Granted, the last time I went to the store, I definitely wiped it down because I was, a little more heightened now, but I'm still not obsessing over it. Like if they wouldn't have had wipes, I wouldn't have done it. I would have just washed my hands really well when I got home. But like I said, Jen can confirm, I've always been the type, whenever I go out, the first thing I do most of the time when I come home is I go wash my hands. Like it's it's something I've always done. Like as soon as, like if I handle my keys or anything like that, I will immediately go wash my hands. So, so like I said, for me, it's just a little more hand washing than it was before.
Well, it's good. I'm glad that you're not going too overboard.
Yeah, I think it's because the agoraphobia has decided it's its turn to really shine. So it's like, no, I got this. You guys take a break. All right. So Heno, how about you?
Yeah, you guys, everything sounds so familiar. Like when I went to the store, the first thing I asked was like, so how, because I usually go on Saturday night before working on Sunday, and it's usually pretty empty in there. And I walked in there, and it wasn't, there were more people than usual, but it wasn't too bad. So I went up to one of the checkers, and I'm just like, so how's it been in here? And they just said it was a madhouse. And at that point, I'm like, okay, don't touch your face, don't touch your face, don't touch your face. I literally had like one glove on.
I'll tell you, that's one thing I've been horrible about because of honestly, my beard, if nothing else. But I also have a skin condition that makes me itch all the time. So I'm in a bad place with that stuff. So again, that's part of why I'm washing my hands like a maniac, is because I keep touching, I'll just sit here and I'll be like, dang it, quit. I'll realize I've been stroking my beard for 10 minutes,
Yeah. So I was just, was that day different than the day before? Well, yes and no. Knowing that there's the chances of something happening because I went into a public space, there just happened to be a lot more people, so that probability changed a little bit.
Right.
Should I have been just as careful the day before? Probably.
Yeah.
But it was just more of that fact of, it's like, okay, let's just look at those probabilities. If there's a ton of people in a particular place, then, well, you need to be a little more careful. That's why I like at my work, I'm just trying to be a voice of reason amongst a lot of the freak out.
Yeah, that's essentially, that's what I'm doing here, yeah. Even though inside part of me is going,
Yeah, because it's, and I don't want to be like one of those that, starts comparing to other things and then just decides to have a cavalier attitude about it because of the fact that there are ramifications for certain people. We don't want this thing to spread to certain people who have a high risk.
Right. Well, and let's face it, none of us want this. It's not going to be pleasant for anybody to get it, but like you said, this isn't just you might, like the normal, like during flu season, the flu kills a lot of people. Most people are pretty cavalier about flu season, and because most of us, we get the flu, we're sick for a week and then we're usually fine. And it's like, but it's like, yeah, but this can kill too. So we definitely need to not, not, like you said, not be cavalier about it, but also not go crazy over it,
Yeah. Like today, there was an email so for me and my work, there's no reason for us not to be at work every single day. There's not that many of us there to begin with. They closed the health club down, which was the major, point of people. And, which is awesome. When Monday morning I show up and it's like easiest commute to work. And when I get there, all I'm thinking about is all the things I can get done at the health club that are always a pain to get done because of how many people are in there.
Yeah, right. Like opportunity. We've talked in the past, like opportunity for growth or for progress. It's like, well, the best you can do in this scenario is, hey, there's things I can actually do unimpeded at the moment. So that's that part of it at least has to be nice.
Yeah. And one of the things was I could just tell my general manager was just getting a little bit more fired up. And I'm like, this is not necessary. We don't need to do this. Let's be reasonable here. And so, but one thing you want to do is give us all half days off, but pay us for a full day just because people have kids. They have to deal, their kids are at home.
Yeah.
And, and I was like, I don't care. I'd just as soon work. I have like paint jobs to do. And so sitting in a closet by myself, that's whatever.
Yeah.
Throw, podcasts on or whatever it is. And I'm good. But I thought about it. It's like, it does kind of make you more, if you're already a little bit nervous and anxious, you're going to be a little bit less anxious and a little interested in going to work knowing that you don't have to do it all day long and that you're being given time to find, whether there's just some relief or to be there for your family or to, go shopping you know, whatever it is you need to do, which that's been weird too. Because like some stores are just doing curbside only, others are just open like normal.
Yeah, that's the weird part to me in a lot of ways, because I know for the sake of ease, they want to stay open as long as they can, because, you know, if they only go to curbside, if you're in a busy area or something, it's going to be a nightmare, you know. So I understand they're trying to have all the options they can, you know, but I also am kind of like, you know, again, that in my head, I'm going, well, they're telling us not to be around more than like 10 people. You know, it's like, it feels like the grocery store right now is like the worst place to be, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have to get things. We all need to eat. We need cleaning products or just whatever it is you need from the store. You know, it's
Toilet paper.
right. Gummy, candy, you know, whatever it is a person needs, you know.
So the thing that I found for myself that's been really odd is I'm in that I've visited the same frame of mind that I was in when, you know, I was buying my house and it was just going to take some time and things are in flux.
Yeah.
Or other times in my life where there's a lot of uncertainty, and I'm not necessarily freaking out, but I also can't just go on and do the things that I usually do.
Yeah.
Or to focus on things that I need to do. Like for this last week, I really haven't touched much about the music that we've recorded. Now, I've played a lot of guitar and I've played a lot of bass, which has been great, just kind of practicing on my own, and that's been good. But I found that I've also been taking just a lot of couch time.
I saw, what's that guy's name? Henno, that doctor that I can't think of the guy's name. We talked about him last time you and I talked. Was it Fauci? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw where he made a comment to basically telling people, and I thought this was great advice, which is don't beat yourself up for doing nothing during this time if you're home. Like,
that's great advice.
Take it as, you know, I know it's not, but take it as a vacation, you know? Like, let yourself relax, because this is like, you know, you were just saying, Henno, and I've said, you know, it's like we're in a fluctuating time. We're all uncertain about things. We're blah, blah, blah. You know, there's so much stress that we're feeling and putting on ourselves. It's like, find your distract, find ways to relax and do them. But there's also, like, real quick, when you were saying about staying at work, it reminds me of, like, you know how, like, when someone dies and then their family, like, that person will go back to work or do something that's a normal behavior of theirs. And people are like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why aren't you? And it's like, because this is how I'm going to, you know, and get back to normal here. I can be distracted.
Normal,
yeah, you get a distraction from things. So I can fully understand what you're saying there too, because one of the worst things right now is, as we talked last week, you know, just sitting around watching the news or obsessing. You know, that's doing nobody any good. So
yeah,
let the scientists obsess on it.
Yeah, exactly. One of the weird things was that feeling of like, okay, I don't want to do normal things in some ways. It's almost like I want to use this as an excuse to not, which is really an odd way to look at it.
Right.
But in the end, it's like that once that initial kind of this kind of shock of change is over, it's going to, you know, we're going to want to go back to normal stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so like one of the things like for right now is well, this has been a weird thing. When I had that shingles vaccine last week, I mean, it messed me up bad. When they said may get flu-like symptoms, it was like, oh, I had flu-like symptoms.
Boy,
and now you're freaking out because it's like, well, this time of year we all get colds and
it's flu
flus
season,
and
yeah.
cruds and you know, like, okay, well, am I getting something? Am I not getting something? Should I stay home? Should I not stay home?
Right.
You know, and luckily I woke up the next day. I felt good. And here's the thing that I did is I worked all day on Friday. I mean, I woke up in the middle of the night with the chills, absolutely, you know, massive headache, not feeling well, but I have, I'm doing some work for Sharon's client and I thought I was going to have all of March to get the work done, but now she's supposed to be in Europe. Well, that whole trip got canceled.
Oh yeah.
So she's coming back early. So it's like, I got to get this done. So I worked like, I don't know, 7 hours on my day off to, you know, get this project, you know, done.
Yeah.
And I've been going at it since then. And that's something I don't do. If I'm legitimately not feeling well, I don't get out of bed.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, okay,
yeah,
this is just a remnant from getting the vaccine. You know, don't freak out. But it's still hard not to because, like, you know, I'll wake up one morning, I got a headache, and I'm like, oh, no.
Well, and that's the thing is that I think is going to be one of the hardest things for a lot of us to deal with is, you know, we already live in like a paranoid kind of WebMD society about stuff anyway. And now, you know, every night on the news, they're like, if you have this, this, and this, you know, and there's going to be so many people who run into that, and you start freaking out. And it's like I told you when we talked before the show, it's like, you know, I woke up and I'm like, man, I'm just exhausted all the time. I got no energy and all, you know, and immediately my brain started doing the same thing. Like, oh no, you know, but then it was like, wait, you don't have a fever. You don't have a cough, you know, like, and I haven't had my testosterone injections in a while. So it's like, well, there you go. You know, like, I love the fact that my brain was like, time out. You know, like, really, I guess this should probably have been my win for the week, but my brain's like, time out. This isn't logical. And you know, and you're like, oh yeah, it isn't. And then, you know, and for once I actually listened. So, you know.
Yeah. Cause I don't want to make it out to, like Tom wants to, you know, he threw out there for the band, you guys want to play? And, you know, a couple members are like, nope, solo only. And I'm just like, you know, I don't mind getting together and doing some recording, you know, because Tom's on one side of the room, I'm on the other side of the room in front of my computer. We can record the guitar parts, you know, but on the other hand, I'm like, okay, am I not feeling well? And should I not be doing something, you know, with people? And, but there's a part where it's like, I think I'll know it when the symptoms are really something worth worrying about. Yeah. And if not, how am I to, you know, I just have to get up and do the best I can every day for myself. Yeah. And I'll tell you what's not going to help me is like not doing anything, right? Because of just I'm not sure. So
yeah, that's what I keep telling people. I keep telling my mom and stuff, especially. It's like, just do your best. You know,
that's it. Yeah,
that's really all we can do. You know, like, you could probably spend all day wiping yourself down with disinfecting wipes or bathing in bleach or whatever to try to, you know, and you still could end up with it. You know, so it's like, just do your best. You know, and that's all you can do. And, you know, I've seen people, like, some videos online of people yelling at others for not wiping their cart down at the store or whatever. And it's like, quit worrying about what other people are doing. Just do the best. You know, when you go to get a cart, wipe it down. Right. Yeah. And the stores are wiping them down. You know, that's why, like, Kroger in our area, they're closing at like 10 o'clock at night so that overnight they can restock without people freaking out and grabbing everything. And also so they can wipe down a bunch of stuff, you know, and it's going to be that way for who knows how long. You know, it kind of stinks for me because I'm a big fan of pulling the old sneaky shopping trip where you roll up at about 11 o'clock at night when nobody's there. And now I can't do that. So, you know, now I got to, you know, but again, you know, they have pickup, so whatever. So, you know, like, that's another part of this is, like, we're already stressed enough. Try to just, you know, forgive yourself, forgive other people, because we're all trying our best right now. Don't get me wrong. There are some people who are literally not trying at all, you know, but there's always going to be those people. All you can do is your best. Try to protect you and yours as the best you can. And, you know, just if you feel doubt or fear or whatever creeping into your head, find something, a podcast, a TV show, comic books, book, movie, whatever it is, to distract yourself. Like, really, if you're struggling, look up ways to help with anxiety. You know, as we talked last week a little bit, and we'll get into a little more here in a little bit. But that basically, it's the same kind of thing. Is you're feeling your anxiety ramping up. Even if you're not diagnosed with anxiety, you're going to have anxiety because it's a natural human thing. We all have it. We're supposed to have it. It's good to a certain point. You know, until it starts affecting your life negatively, then it's less bueno. So,
yeah, it's there to protect us.
Yeah.
And speaking of, like over the weekend when I went into work on Sunday, and, you know, like right off the bat, that was when, you know, over the weekend was when everything kind of changed. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden there was just emails and stuff from, you know, my boss about like you know, literally nothing had changed from 2 days before, other than some news.
Oh, can I interrupt you really quick? I have a funny story about an email. Really fast. Okay. So, you know, most of the companies out there have been sending out emails. Here's the things we're doing to protect you and blah, 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 right? So I get one from my storage place. And they're like, hey, we know times are tough and everybody's worried, but don't forget, you can pay your bill online or blah, blah, blah. And it was like, how is that supposed to comfort me? Like, all you did was remind me you want your money.
So I can play this, yeah. And then you can do it online.
Yeah. I was like, woo, thank goodness. I was so worried. I mean, I pay it anyway, but, you know. So, sorry about that, Heno. It just popped in my head. I wanted to say.
So funny.
Yeah.
And so when I got there, I was like, okay, yeah, I love my Sundays, working by myself, just doing my thing.
Yeah.
But I got a message from a friend of ours through podcasting and he was asking about meditation. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a great time to work on a meditation practice.
It is.
Especially if we're spending a lot of time on our own, in our homes or somewhere alone. You know, what a great idea. And especially for anxiety and this and that. And so I was like, well, it's a little bit more involved than a DM, you know, through Twitter of like, why don't I send you an email? So on my lunch break, I just sat down and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to share my experience, what got me into meditation, how I did it, and what bits of advice I ended up using in doing so. And so I thought that'd be good. We've talked about it before here, but I thought it'd be a good reminder for our topic for tonight is just a little something about meditation.
Sounds great.
All right.
Real quick, Heno,
Yeah,
before you jump into this, you mentioned, you know, working on meditation, whatever. And, excuse me, sorry. For anyone out there who's looking for an app to use, the Waking Up app by Sam Harris, he has always posted that. Now, here's the difference in an email, right? I got an email from him because I have a subscription to their thing. And if you cannot afford a subscription to that service, it's like $15 a month or something like that. If you email them and if you go on, like, look the app up on your phone, and at the very bottom, there's a customer service or something like that, or if you're online, because I don't have it handy, unfortunately. I think it's like info@Waking Up app or something like that. Anyway, if you tell them, like, you know, say, hey, I would love to use your service, but I cannot afford it, they'll give you a free subscription. Like, so I don't know how long it is. Mine was a year, but I don't know if that's, you know, norm or how they did it. But anyway, they sent an email out that was like, hey, we know times are tough financially. If you can't afford the app but want to use it, let us know. We will basically extend your subscription for free, kind of a thing. So anyone out there, if you're looking to do meditation, I really dig the app. It's a really good app for it. So there you go. And no, we're not paid for doing that. It's just what I use. So there you go.
Perfect. Thank you. That gave me the opportunity to change the font on this email I sent so I can actually read it.
Yeah, I've been there before. Yep. I hate that when people send, like, I've had people email me and they use some fancy, or they think is fancy font, and I'm like, I can't read this. And it's like, you know, the inner graphic designer in me just like rages because it's like the first, you know, function over form, dang it. Anyway, sorry, rant.
So for me, one of the things in 12-step groups, and especially in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about using prayer and meditation. But because of our kind of a Judeo-Christian society, most people have just focused on the first part of it, prayer. And so prayer is this thing, but I'd hear it get pointed out every once in a while. It's prayer and meditation, not prayer or.
Right.
And it was something I'd always wanted to try.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was at a meeting, and somebody mentioned that how they got into doing meditation is somebody suggested they go buy an egg timer.
Okay.
And just sit down, turn on the egg timer, and sit quietly.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I was like,
just starting out, I'd never be able to do that because of misophonia. All I would do is focus on the ticking of the egg timer unless it was somehow slant. Yeah. I could do it like on my phone, you know.
The one that I got is actually battery. It's battery controlled.
Okay,
so
that would work.
It's not a spring.
Okay, because otherwise I hold tick, 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 tick. That's all I would hear. Although later, though, it would be a great test. you know, because like I've told you guys, I've been trying to off and on meditate when I'm out in public, when there's noise, because it's really and truly, it's the best place to try to meditate because it really tests you. When you're in, it's completely quiet. It's easy to focus and center. When you're in a noisy doctor's waiting room or something like that, or an airport or something, that's a great opportunity to really flex the muscle a little bit, if you will. Anyway, sorry. I keep interrupting you.
So I literally went down to the...
No, I'm kidding. Sorry. I'm just screwing around.
I went down to the kitchen store and I bought an egg timer.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, and I went home and I set it for like 3 minutes. You know, the first thing was I did the whole like, well, how am I supposed to sit? You know, like leg it on the floor. Do I have to, you know, how are my hands supposed to be? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And ultimately what I did is I was just like, I just sat in a chair.
Right.
Just comfortably, you know.
Do you know what's funny is that I think is to just be comfortable, right?
Yes.
Especially, you know, if you're going to be, you know, for any length of time, like, you know, most of the time I do it, it's about 10 or 15 minutes. But I know there's people who meditate for an hour or longer. So like, but when I do it, I lay in bed. Like I don't sit, I lay down because it's easier for me to completely relax that way. If I'm sitting, like my leg will start shaking, or I'll just lay down most of the time, and that's what works for me. But I know in the app, you know, Sam Harris is always like, you know, get comfortable, sit in the chair, you know, focus on your back pressing again. So it's like I have to kind of alter it a little bit when he says it because I'm not sitting in a chair when I do it usually. So I was going to ask how you did it.
One of the things with what you're talking about, like with longer meditations and to be in a certain position, is part of it is to actually focus on those discomfort moments, to learn to be in your body even when you're not that comfortable.
Right.
And especially for people that end up doing like these, you know, really long meditations where they're doing it for hours and hours, is to really focus on and to let go of those concerns.
Mm-hmm.
But I suggest to anybody, just wherever you're comfortable, just find a place and that's what I did. And I set the timer for 3 minutes, and I started focusing on my breathing. All I did was wonder how long 3 minutes was going to be.
Yeah. It's so funny when you first start meditating. That's all I did too. Because the first time Sam Harris is like, going to take like 10 minutes or something like that. And I'm like, oh man, you know, and it's weird because you listen to like that app and he'll talk and then it's just quiet for a while. Then okay, now do this, you know, like it's weird because there's times where I'm laying there and I'm like, did the app quit? You know, like,
and that's it. Exactly. And so, but what I did is once I was done, I called it, okay, I won for the day.
Yeah.
I didn't try to do any more.
Yep.
And I just did it again the next day.
Yeah.
And I did it again the next day, and I did it again the next day. And I just kept doing it until I didn't think about when the buzzer was going to go off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and when I finally got to that point, then it was like, okay, now I can expand the time some more. And, you know, the having a lot of friends that, you know, I have one friend that is just a devout Buddhist, you know, is part of a center and had tons of information. And she sent me a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was like really like a lot, but there were some things that she highlighted for me. And one of them was about talking about, you know, breathing, which is very important, because if you're going to focus on your breathing, well, what the heck does that mean? Focus on your breathing.
Yeah.
And with a lot of guided meditations, and especially like when I've gone to, I've done a retreat, and where you actually have somebody that are guiding your meditation, they will go into deep breath and visualizing air coming in, you know, pulling it in through your nose and releasing it out your mouth, and to actually visualize the air coming in, your lungs expanding, and what a great focus, you know, to just focus on the minutia of that process is part of what helps get into a centered state, because you stop thinking about anything else.
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, look up, what's it called? Box breathing. I believe it's called.
I'm not familiar.
Like where you take the breath in, then you hold it for like you take it in for like 4 or 10 seconds, I think, or 5 or 10 seconds. I can't remember. Then you hold it in, then you exhale and you hold after you exhale, you hold for another, whatever the time frame is. And basically you just keep repeating that process. And it's called box breathing basically because there's 4 parts to it.
4 sides.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Even if you don't do actual meditation, look that up because that is really helpful when you get anxious to really, if nothing else, just you can focus on your breathing during that point because, it's just good to know because it's a good tool to have. And the more you practice, much like any meditation, the more you practice it, it's easier to slip into it when you need it because it just becomes kind of muscle memory instead of decision.
Exactly. And that's why they call it a meditation practice, is because it is literally just practicing. And that's why it's okay to just start with a short amount of time until you feel like that time you're like, oh, I want to do some more. And then increase it. And so what I did is when I increased my time a little bit, I started to introduce what's called a focus. And people there's different types of focuses. One would be sound. There's various types of bowls and bells.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of meditations, guided meditations, they'll have a bell that gets rung on an interval.
Yeah.
Some people use a visual focus, like a candle, that they'll just focus on the candle. What I started using is a mantra, and the guided meditations will do this too. You might use a phrase over and over again, like present moment, perfect moment, and just say it over and over again, present moment, perfect moment.
Yeah.
Or, for me, it was some of the phrases and sayings that I was learning in sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would do a gratitude list. And that was kind of like my little warm up, was to go through a set of like prayers. Like there's some, when one of the things that there's a monastery just south of here where I really got a great lesson in meditation, and I'm trying to remember the order that they are, but there used to be a part of Western Christianity that utilized meditation, but they called it contemplative prayer. And they had a whole philosophy that went with it that is very similar to Buddhism. And they're trying to bring this back into practice. And contemplative prayer is, like when you see someone repeating a prayer over and over again, and sometimes they can be like moving a lot, they're actually, that's a form of meditation happening right then and there. You keep saying rosaries over and over and over and over again. That's a mantra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a state of meditation. And so this contemplative prayer is about, using prayer and using thought process or words and this as a focus to really kind of dive into what's being said there. So any type of prayer is a great way of, as a focus, especially if it's something that that you've memorized. It could be, something obscure, like even like a poem, or it could be something that everybody's heard of a million times. But just by using that as a mantra, it helped me kind of get into that space for about 5 minutes. And especially then I'd do a gratitude list, and then I would sit quietly for the next 5. And again, eventually I'd start to wonder when's 10 minutes going to happen.
Yeah.
But over time that extended, that 10 minutes became 15, it became 20.
Yeah.
One of the things that ultimately happens, and this is a well-known phrase, we have a monkey mind.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're
Our
a Rogan
brain-
listener, you certainly are aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our brain wants to go out there and think.
Yeah.
And it just happens. It's not, there's nothing wrong with starting to think in a meditation. The idea that somehow I'm not supposed to think, it's going to happen. Even when you get into a deep meditation, we're not concentrating anymore actively. So the fact that your brain suddenly reaches out to a thought is not
Yeah. It's normal
absurd.
is what it is. It's totally
It's very
normal. That's why I love
Yeah.
ending up practices. What Sam Harris talks about is when you get to the point that, you know, like you try to focus on like your breath or sensations around you, whatever it is at the time, right? And then when your brain starts to wander, you catch it and then bring it back to the breath. In fact, I'm wording it exactly how he does, basically, is like bring it back to focus on the breath. And what's funny is like, you don't start with that practice. You know, that's after a few sessions he gets into that. But it's funny because the first time he's basically like, okay, you know, the one part where he's kind of like, all right, see how long you can go without your brain forming an idea, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And you realize it is the shortest amount of time. It's so funny.
Oh, it
You're
is.
trying really hard and your brain just is like, la, 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 you know, like, and so you bring it back and then it's such a short time and your brain does it again. You're like, oh, come on. You know, it's like harnessing a puppy, you know?
And that's like some of the suggestions that were given to me is to view a thought like a cloud.
Yeah.
Like you're looking up in the sky. Oh, and you just visualize my hand going up there. I'm just going to move the cloud away. I'm
Yeah.
not pushing it back.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting against it. I'm not visualizing of we're not in argument here.
Right.
This thought has come into the picture. I know that a lot of people don't like the idea of being underwater, but I would actually visualize like a ship, like the bottom of a ship going above me.
Yeah.
Like I'm just a little fish hanging out, and here comes this thought, like a little submarine. And I just went, oh, hi, little. I'm just going to move you out of the way with my hand.
Right.
You know, and then eventually another one's going to come in, just
Yep.
like a cloud, and you don't fight it, but you also don't go aggressive with it, like get out of here. No, you just simply, oh, hi, there's a thought. Okay, you can go now. And
What is it? Is it it's the Buddhist thinking, isn't it? That basically like we don't like. Was it thoughts aren't permanent? Essentially, I can't remember how it's worded, but it's essentially like that you just essentially when you're centered, you know, meditating or whatever, is almost like you were saying. It's like if you could visualize like clouds and they're just moving past you, and you're just in the moment, you know, in the middle of it. They're coming, and you're like you said, you're just like, yep, okay, that's a thought. Oh, see ya, there you go. Oh, here's another one, you know, and. That's what I think, like what Sam Harris is basically saying is when the thought comes in, he's even says, don't ignore it, acknowledge it,
exactly,
and then come back to the breath. And then,
and
you notice over time, you're like, oh wow, I went a lot longer this time without the distraction.
having-
But what I've noticed is no matter what, my brain always goes back to the distraction. And he even points out, it's like, that's normal. That's going to happen.
Yep.
Don't let it frustrate you. Just go, oh, okay. And then
Exactly.
try to come right back to where you were, you know?
And one thing that Lana sent me was this writing about it was about a dancer. They described a thought as like a dance. You know, here's this, everyone's in a room and you're watching a beautiful dance and she's just slowly gliding and moving beautifully. But then all of a sudden it starts getting a little faster and a little faster and a little faster and a little faster. And all of a sudden now it's becoming like a frenetic dance. And somebody in the room just yells, thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, and then calms back down again. And that's that idea of just identifying it, calling it what it is, because it will creep up on you, and you just to yourself just say, oh, thinking,
yeah,
and then move on from that, and you kind of label it in that regard.
I kind of like the idea of the dancer thing, but and kind of mixing the two of the dancer and the clouds, except instead of clouds, essentially picture if you could see the musical notes.
Yeah.
Because when you're listening to music, it's like there's a note here. Oh, it's gone. Now, oh, there's a new note. Oh, it's gone. Up. And you just would keep, literally it ends up being like Lucy with the chocolates in the factory, you know? You're just like, oh, geez, there's a lot of these, but, you know.
When I it's been a long time since I did meditation, but when I was a teen, I did meditation to help me sleep. And the technique that was taught to me at that point was to picture you have your anxieties, have your thoughts, put them into film, their scissors, imaginally cut them up and blow them away. And it's very similar type of a practice to what you guys are talking about.
Yep.
Which is find that way to visualize what makes sense to you. What's the easiest thing to do? For me, it was cutting them up and blowing them away. Making them into something that they weren't all consuming, putting them on the film, a roll of film, so that I could visualize the thoughts and visualize me eliminating the thoughts from my mind.
Right.
I still use that practice today. Is as when something's really bothering me, I usually don't have any problem sleeping. But every time that I do go right back to the same behaviors.
Yeah.
And all of these, that's why all of these practices are great to take into your daily life, because these are skills that are so useful in when something comes into our mind that disturbs us. These are tools that you can use to let things go and to move forward and not get locked into them, because you're practicing it when you do your meditation every day.
Yeah. About
not locking into these things, learning how to just even the visualizations and the concepts of it are so useful when you can when you actually have a physical person in front of you and you can think of them as just a cloud that you're just going to move along.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, if you think about like small talk kind of works that way a lot of times, or like, when you run into somebody at work or in public and, oh, hi, how are you? Blah, blah. 2 minutes later, you're like, oh, well, we got to go, so it's like you said, it's just like a slightly delayed version of the same thing though, is that our conversations really are fleeting as well, And it also helps because like just this visualization of letting something go or getting rid of it in some manner, instead of visualizing like collecting all of it and putting it into a backpack that becomes, heavy and weighing you down, you just let these thoughts go because they're exactly what they are. They're just thoughts. You don't need to hold on to every one of them. And, most of them you can let go and it's for the best. So like you said, it's like, the more you do this, it's better for just a daily practice, like whatever's popping into your head, even, at work in a meeting or something like that, if you're trying to come up with ideas for something, you can kind of just, it's like brainstorming, like you just let things come and you're just like, okay. Nothing's wrong during brainstorming, like you're putting, like when I was in, taking graphic design classes, when we had a project, we had to turn in almost every time at least 50 thumbnails of whatever the project was, before we could move on. So, there's no wrong ideas. You just put it all out there. So you take all your thoughts and you're just like, yep, okay, move on to the next. Okay, and move on. So it's literally what you're trained to do in that profession. In music, like I said, the note comes, the note goes, the note comes, the note goes. It's just exactly what music is. So whatever you're, whatever you're passionate about, I think there's a good way to frame the visual part of this is something you're passionate about. Picture some way of, whatever it is coming and going super easy. If nothing else, music works really well because, or the clouds, because it's something we can all identify with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm happy that I did is this was, when I got into meditations, it was right when the first smartphones were coming out, and I didn't have one for a while. And so I'm glad I never used one for the practice. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say anything against guided meditation is fantastic. So there's amazing apps out there that'll do guided meditation. And there's no better way to really ramp up your meditation game than either going to a retreat, being part of a group. There's just something wild about sitting with a group of people and you're all sitting quietly. And those are the longest meditations I've done. And it was easy. You think it'd be more difficult? No, it's super easy. You could just feel the energy in the room. And those, like, I do an hour, like no problem. And here I am with a room full of people. We're all sitting quietly. It's so weird, but it was great. So I don't have anything against those things. However, I do like the idea of not having your phone or device or anything near you
Yeah.
where a notification can pop up or anything can disturb you.
You know,
And
it's weird. I think I may be wrong, but I never noticed any notification pop up while I'm using the Waking Up app. I don't know if it blocks everything else
It could.
while you're engaging. I've never had anything else interrupt it. Cause what I usually do is like when I use it, I put it on the table next to my bed and then I just lay flat in bed so I can hear it, but I can't easily reach it without disturbing my comfort, basically, you know?
yeah.
So I'm with you. I fully understand that whole, like, you know, if you can do it yourself, that's the better way probably, but whatever works for you, you know, cause some people,
Exactly.
guided
That's it.
meditation doesn't work for some people. They can't, it's boring. It doesn't work for them. So, you know.
Yeah, there's a million ways to find, but I'm glad that I learned without having the requirement of anything external to me.
Right.
And one of the things that I hear a lot about from people is like, oh, well, my meditation is when I go ride my bike. And my question always is, well, what do you do when you can't ride your bike?
Yeah.
And I've seen what happens to them. They go stir crazy. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they can't get out and hike that trail.
Yeah.
They're antsy and they're, you know, because it's become part of it. And it was a number of years later where I heard someone say that, you know, if you're going to go, you know, because skiing can be a meditation,
Mm-hmm.
painting can be a meditation,
Sure.
sweeping sand can be a meditation.
Yeah. Oh,
But this person
literally,
said
you can do, like, if you're doing crossword puzzles, at some point, eventually, your brain gets absorbed in the puzzle you're doing. And
you're not thinking about anything else.
exactly.
Right?
Yep. So
But-
literally anything you're passionate about probably can
Can be a
almost be a
meditation.
meditation. Yeah.
However, when this was pointed out to me, it's like when you go skiing.
Yeah.
When you're painting,
Pain.
focus on painting.
Yeah.
If you're doing a crossword puzzle, focus on doing a crossword puzzle.
I will say this one quick thing though about the painting part or any art in that aspect is there is an element of art that, like, when I was in school, we were taught this at like various classes I was in, like, of a technique essentially to where you attempt to clear your mind and
Mhm.
just paint kind of whatever pops into your head, just abstractly, you know, not focused on anything, not try, oh, I'm going to paint an apple or a still life or a portrait, but just whatever the brushstrokes tell me to do kind of a thing. So, you know, that's one of those times where there is a nice, oh, I'm sure in music you do the same thing where you're just noodling sometimes. You're just mindlessly just playing without thinking, you know. So I think, you know, there is a good element in that too, you know, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's the idea of sweeping sand
Yeah.
in a certain pattern or skiing. When I'm skiing, I'm bringing meditation skills into
True. Yeah.
the activity.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm
Yeah.
focused on the activity. I'm focused on my body. I'm paying attention to how the turn feels. You know, I'm not
hope
allowing
so.
myself to get distracted, but that's not a meditation.
Right.
But you're bringing skills because there is in the process of like painting, you're not learning. There's no practice that you can take away from painting. Right?
Yeah.
These are things that now they become tied together. And that's why a meditation should be just a meditation
Yeah.
and just meditate, because that is the part that will then allow you to do those other things.
Well, that's
more
kind of
mindfully.
right. That's kind of what I was saying in a way is basically what I did when we were taught that was I would essentially, I wouldn't have called it meditation at the time because
No, you wouldn't have.
I wasn't real familiar with it anyway.
Yeah.
But essentially looking back, essentially what I did was try to clear my mind, which meditating essentially, let things go and then go, okay, and boom, into what you're doing. So yeah, you're right. It really is two segments, attached is what ends up happening. It's really
Exactly.
not doing, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, you're bringing the skills of one into the
Right.
other, and that's why for me, and Brian, you already brought it up. When I'm standing in the line at the grocery store, and like already mentally I'm in a hurry, and I get to that line and I see what's going on, like the person's having some trouble using the little credit card machine, or something's not quite right. there's no price on some object, and now they have to go and find it, right?
Somebody's got coupons.
And you've already got your items down, and that is where I will practice meditation.
Yeah. Because there's nothing really else you can do. What are you going to put everything back in your cart? Ask the people behind you to move? It's
and those are great times to see how is my practice. Where am I in my practice at home on a daily basis or every other day or whatever you can do?
Yeah.
How well is it being absorbed in the other parts of my life?
Yeah.
And like in our daily lives. And that's why it's great to for myself, I'm happy that I right off the bat just did it without any real external focuses.
Yeah.
Because I can now do that when I need to. And what's great is if I do have a focus, like I brought up here on the show, the tone therapy system, which are a couple of speakers that do various like the meditation bowls and the bells, like if I turn one of those on, I drop into a meditation like in a heartbeat. If I do a guided meditation, it's no problem.
I'll tell you what was crazy for me was a few weeks ago when I was at my doctor's office and I was waiting on the psychiatrist, and that woman turned on that wave machine that was outside the room I was in. I've never really used one of those. I've heard, back in the day, we, everybody pretty much had, ocean sound CDs and all that kind of stuff or whatever. But I had never tried to meditate with one of those going. And it was awesome how as soon as I heard that, first of all, I've been to the ocean, so I could close my eyes and picture looking out at the ocean, right? And I could hear the waves from that thing, and it kind of put me right in that state, which is awesome. When you can visualize something, it really helps, for me, it really helps. And then just focusing on the music. But what I was doing was I was essentially allowing the waves to take my thoughts with them, So every time a wave washes out, it's like, oh, there goes my thought. See ya. Here's another one, And I, like you were just saying, it's like, boom, like right away. I was like, whoa. And like a woman came in to apologize to me. And I'm not going to lie, part of them was like, oh, you ruined it, and this is funny because I immediately flash back to the experience of when me and Jen were in Florida, we were standing looking out at the ocean. Everything's calm. We're just hearing the waves washing. And then her stepdad is like, oh, I want to get pictures. And I'm just like, because I told her right then, I was like, this is the most calm I've been in years, and of course something just had to, couldn't leave it alone for a little while.
That's funny.
So I kind of had that same moment with this, but it was with that's something for people to consider too. If you don't have to buy one of those machines, you can, but there are a lot of apps that do it too. So, there's various options out there. But it was really nice. And like I said, I'm loving kind of doing this. I'm really digging the challenge of being in weird places and going, like you said, even standing in line at the grocery store, even if I don't meditate, I will focus on like the box breathing, Yeah. And realistically, if you close your eyes and do the box breathing, you're basically on your way to meditating. You may not fully get into that mindset, but you're kind of going that way. So if nothing else, it's like meditation light, but I'm really digging trying that at different places where it's noisy. There's just havoc or whatever. And it's like, can I find my center here?
Yep.
And it's amazing. And even if you don't do a lot of meditation, the tools, it's amazing how powerful they are. And the beautiful part about it, and the most important thing to remember is there's no failing at meditation. Because like we said earlier, your thoughts are gonna bomb. Your brain is just trying to your brain is trying to always assess a situation, prepare you for things, doing all these things. So to quiet it is actually it's a very difficult thing. And that's why, a lot of these people who meditate for hours or whatever, most of the time, they've been doing it for a long time, and even then, I bet they still have their moments where their brain is not completely clear, that their brain is still popping thoughts in there, because again, it's what our brains do. So don't be hard on yourself. If, like I said, the first time Sam Harris was like, okay, try to see how long you can go without a thought. And I'm like, I got this, I'm good. It wasn't even 2 minutes. It probably wasn't even a minute. It's probably like 10 seconds. The next time I did it, it was a little longer, but still pretty fast. You don't notice Like, I didn't go from like, oh, it was 10 seconds today and tomorrow it's like 5 minutes. It doesn't. And even then, I've had days where I went a long time and then the very next day, it's right back to like 10 seconds because your brain just does what it wants a lot of times. So it's, like I said, it's like corralling a puppy, it's like, ooh, everything. I want to sniff. I want to, and you're like, calm down, so, but yeah, definitely don't be hard on yourself if you do guided or any of it, like Henno was saying with the 3 minutes thing, that for some people, that's going to be excruciating 3 minutes, because their brain's going to keep focusing on the time or whatever else. But that's natural. That happens. Let it happen and just keep trying. That's all you do with any of this stuff for mental health is always do your best and just keep trying. Just don't give up on it. It works. It takes a lot of practice. And again, there's people who've been meditating for years that if you listen to them, they'll all tell you they still have days where they cannot find, I've heard Tim Ferriss talk about it different times where he's like, I just had so much going on in my head that I couldn't quiet my brain all the way down. But he's like, even quieting it like 20% helps because you find better clarity in the other thoughts you have. All right, I'll shut up.
Very true.
Yeah, and it's just like everyone's recovery is their own recovery, and your meditation is your meditation. There's no wrong. Whatever works for you. Just like however you want to sit.
Yeah.
Don't sit. Stand. Don't stand. Whatever.
Yeah.
Find what works for you. It's all about finding success in using tools to help us in our recovery. And it's just like, everyone has their own, everyone's recovery is unique to them. Nobody should tell you that you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
As long as you're, getting the end results that you're hoping for, that's all that matters.
And really any good guided meditation will reinforce that on a fairly regular basis with you. That there is no wrong here. Like whatever work you do today is work you did today. And that's, I love Sam Harris at the end of every one of the sessions is always like, thank you for caring enough to basically work on yourself today. That kind of thing. And it's like, exactly, that's the key to it all is you're trying and you're doing your best. And, that's really it. That's all any of us can do with anything, the coronavirus, meditating, any of it. All we can try is our best,
Well, guys, what do you think? We good?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, folks, we covered a lot of ground tonight and a lot of really great conversation. And I know you have opinions and thoughts and things that you'd love to share with us. So you know what to do. You can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com is our email address. And if you want to reach me directly, you can reach me on Twitter at WhitskeyDitz, WhitskeyDitz. If you want to hear more from me, you can also hear me on Shake the Sheets. It's a pop culture talk show that I do with my co-host Nate. You can find us at shakethesheets.com is our website. And you, Henno, how can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Henno, and you can find me on Facebook, Henno Heiter, and on Facebook Messenger. And one thing I forgot to talk about was I was a guest on the Agent Palmer podcast.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I totally forgot to write it down. I had it in something on my phone and forgot to write it down. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and I'd forgotten about it too last week, and I had talked about so if you go to agentpalmer.com, that's the website of a blog. He's a blogger, the Agent Palmer, and he has started his own podcast, and he is talking to various people about different topics. Our good friend Neil, who has joined us on the show, we CTE
and brain trauma.
CTE, that's it, brain stuff. He actually was the last episode, and he and Palmer talked about anxiety, and I talked about what what's going on with the recording project, and it ended up being about process and not getting bogged down into letting things distract you from making your art is kind of where we ended up with it. We didn't start with a sort of a set idea. That's just where it went. So check that out.
Good. Yeah, definitely check that out. I'll get the link to it and put it in the show notes too, in case anyone wants it. Really quick before I move into the other stuff, the address for the Waking Up app or the email for that is where'd it go? support@wakingup.com. And like I said, if you just email them and tell them you're having a financial hardship or whatever, they will give you a free membership to the thing, because Sam Harris has said from the beginning that he's more concerned with helping people than the money. The money just allows them to continue to develop programs and different stuff to add to the app. So, and
it's called the Palmer Files Podcast. That's the official title.
Yes. Right. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami or at salty_language, which is my other podcast. Can also be found at saltylanguage.com. That show is not safe for work, so please be careful where you're listening to it at. And Henno, did you mention it MTN Pod on Twitter?
I didn't, but that's okay.
No, it's not. Go listen to Moving the Needle also. Their newest episode was on Sneakers, right?
Yep.
That's the newest release as of yet, or now.
Yep.
Movie Sneakers. If you're not familiar with it, go check the movie out. It's a real...
It's fun.
It's a kind of a sleeper hit, Especially if you're younger, you probably don't remember this movie.
Did it sneak in under the radar?
No, it's only about shoes. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, go check that stuff out. We're part of the... I can't even... I'm looking right at it and I almost said it wrong. Good gravy. We're part of the Danger Net... Take three. We're part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. We're also part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. You can find us on the face page over at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. So please join up and, get us a conversation going or something. I think that's all the links. You can, please rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please share with your friends if you haven't already. Especially if we've covered a topic that may be interesting to them. If you go to our, I believe on our site there, like the search thing, you can look for, just type in the keyword that you're looking for, because I generally title the shows off of what our topic is. And, like I said, please share with your friends. And, And of course, in these times, please reach out to people. I know we're supposed to avoid social contact essentially as far as, like in person or whatever. But, if you do know a neighbor that could use some help, or, if you're heading to a grocery store and somebody maybe is, elderly or hard to get out of their house or whatever, maybe see if there's anything you can get them, even if you just leave it on their porch and let them grab it or whatever. But, let's still try, and maybe even more so, let's try to, increase our acts of kindness. Try not to freak out at people. If nothing else, please, please, please exercise kindness, whether it's financially to, local businesses and whatever that are going to be hit really hard by all of this. But also be kind to the people who work at these places, your pharmacists, your first responders, doctors, nurses, all that kind of stuff, people stocking the shelves at the grocery store, everybody's trying their best right now. We all don't know what the heck's going to happen, but we're all trying our best. So please go easy on them. Everybody's trying to do the best they can to help you, so, try not to be a jerk. Don't get into fistfights over like toilet paper and stuff, I feel like I should never have to say that, but exactly. Here we are. Yeah.
Well, with that, everybody, as my dog starts snoring in the background, with that, go out there, have the best you can, stay healthy, stay,
Safe.
keep it together.
Yeah.
Stay healthy, stay safe, all the good stuff. And don't forget, when stressed or whatever's going on, make sure you wiggle your toes.
And wash your hands.
Have a beer, you'd be fine.